All right. For the audience that does not know you, feel free to introduce yourself.
My name is Joshua Denne. Pleasure to be here, George.
All right. So, we spoke a little bit after the show, and I'm glad to have you on, by the way. But I was going to say, with regards to what you do, and yourself, we spoke a little bit before the show, and, you're a content creator, right? You produce a lot of different kinds of content, from fitness to business to, I saw some bit like Christian content. So tell us a little bit more about like how you describe yourself.
Well, first off, I'm a father, and I take probably the greatest joy in being around my children. And I think as a member of society, our job is to make life easier. Well, I don't necessarily make life easier, but do the best we can to help the people that we come across and to be an example. That's kind of my basic premise. I fell into entrepreneurship because I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger and didn't graduate high school, was in and out of correctional facilities. So made some dumb choices when I was young. And as a result, the job market, doesn't necessarily favor employees like that. And understandably so. So it forced me into looking for alternative ways to support myself that were legal. And entrepreneurship gives people the ability to really participate in the free enterprise system that America is known for, right? Capitalism. And a lot of people don't understand what that actually is, but it's simple, George. It's you and I have the ability or the right to take a product or service to the marketplace being the people, and exchange for profit. It's pretty simple. Now, some people abuse that, but most people don't. Okay. I think that's an exception, not the norm. The norm is most people want to add real value, and the marketplace only accepts that over time, right? You and I, as consumers in the marketplace, because we're a part of the marketplace, we're not going to overpay for things when we don't have to. We don't want to be taken advantage of. And usually bad actors weed themselves out. So if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, find ways to add more value than you subtract, and people will most likely transact with you. So I don't know if I'm a content creator, George, as much as I post things that I have an affinity for. I enjoy doing, like I enjoy doing ice baths. I don't know if I enjoy getting into the ice bath, but I enjoy the results of them. I enjoy working out. I enjoy fitness. I enjoy my walk in faith, and I enjoy my family. So I typically post about those things.
Talk to me a little bit more about the beginning years, because I did see that you were a high school dropout. I saw a little bit about that, and how did that come about? How did that change you? How did that shape you?
When I was younger, I think like a lot of people, I was searching for, why am I here? What's going on? And I didn't have a lot of guidance, at least from the traditional family sense. My father decided to leave when I was, I think, 5 years old, and never came back. And the person who replaced him as a father figure just didn't know what he was doing. So at that time, I didn't perceive him as being a good human. Well, that sucks.
Well, it's what it is.
That's what it is. I'll take this down. Anyway, I didn't perceive him as being a really good human being. So I left the house at 14. So I was gone, and just the blind leading the blind as a kid, right? I'm with other kids who are also in the same type of situation, or at least perceivably so. And a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, trying to figure life out, isn't necessarily the best recipe for success. And so I ended up going down a pretty wrong road, and I ended up in jails and eventually the penitentiary system in California. But in doing that, I learned a lot. Obviously, it helped me grow up, and I finally started reading. I had a lot of time to read and to seek, um, seeking the truth, as I wanted to find that very much. So, like, what is true? What is real? And I think you go your entire life and not really understand that completely. At least at 47 years on the earth, I don't know if I know the truth yet. I think I do. I have a grasp of what I believe to be real, and I moved towards that. But that was kind of where I was at when I didn't know anything at all. One thing I did know for sure is there is God, and on the other side of that, there's evil. Right? There's definitely good and evil, 100,000%. And I didn't want to be on the evil category. I didn't want to go down that road, and so I wanted to aim towards the other side of that. I made a choice that was where I was going to put my life aim. And when I've done that, and I say when because there's times I fall out of doing that. At times I fall out of focus. But when I'm focused on that aim, right, that high calling, as Paul calls it, that stretching forth towards that high calling of Christ, my life is far more fulfilled, whether I'm a multimillionaire or I'm homeless, because I've been in both situations. And when I have Christ at my center, I'm truly seeking that, not to be praised by others or to say it, but to really be in that space. My life is far more fulfilled, and I feel way better than when that's not present. And I can tell you this, George, you look like a young man. How old are you?
How old do you think I am?
I would say you're 19.
18. So you're one of the closer people that have guessed. Many people say 20 or 20 something. So
Okay, well, you carry yourself well. So 18 years old. Here's what if I could talk to my 18-year-old self, there's a couple things I would say. One is success is far easier achieved than you think it is. Material wealth isn't a high vibration of acquisition. Right? If you focus on those things, you will acquire them. It's not difficult. It's far more difficult to cultivate a strong character. It's far more difficult to cultivate a work ethic that will last your lifetime, to develop skills that will benefit your future, well, your present and your future, and more importantly, those around you. I think because as you develop your tribe and you start to create a reputation of a man who does what he says, and a man who will admit his mistakes, will own his mistakes, and will do what he can to course correct, will honor his word, and at least not harm people, right? Do good, but at least don't harm people. That is a far better aim than getting a Lamborghini or getting a mansion or a jet. Those are all nice things, and don't get me wrong. I don't think that that's bad having those things. I just think having that as your sole focus and aim is going to mess you up. And when you succeed, and if that's your aim in life, I suspect you probably will do it without purpose and without understanding that that's just material stuff doesn't matter. It's not you. Your things aren't you. You're you, whether you are broke or poor or rich or wealthy or you're any in that economic spectrum. Your character is far more valuable than anything that you could possibly ever acquire. And you can walk away from it in a nanosecond. You can get it back if you want. But, you don't go anywhere. Your stuff can come and go. And I'll say this, like, go to a thrift shop or go to a pawn shop and see the old stuff that used to matter, the stuff that was cool to your parents or your grandparents. None of that shit's cool anymore, or most of it. There's some of it that's kind of cool, like small little bit of it. Most of it's useless junk, but it used to be prized possessions. Some people, that's what they focused on. It all, it doesn't matter. So if I can give you any advice, George, cultivate a strong character. Work on your mind and your body, and I think more importantly, your spiritual walk with your creator. And if you focus your life on those things, all the other stuff will come. And it'll come sooner than you think it will. Because I remember being 18 thinking it's like there's so much time. I was like, God dang, it's taking a long time. It doesn't really take that long. Anybody can change your life in a couple of years. Anybody, like 2 to 3 years, your life could be radically different. Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, 100%. So the thing is, though, if you end up with a lot of money and you haven't cultivated a strong character and you haven't worked on yourself, it can actually do a lot more damage than good. Believe it or not.
Some people are so poor, all they have is money. Bob Marley said that. That's a good quote.
That is a good quote. Pretty freaking accurate.
There's another one.
And it's worse. It's worse. I know this is going to sound strange but it's true. And I don't think I could even understand this until I actually experienced it. But it's worse to be rich and poor in every other area than it is to be poor. Period. Because you don't have any breaks when you're rich. When you have money and you have resources, and you're, say, an addict, a drug addict, or you're addicted to something not good, whether it's pornography or sex or drugs or gaming, anything, right? Any addictive thing, you just can go to hell much faster because you have no breaks. You could buy whatever you want to buy and end up dead, or lose your brain. So if you're poor, you kind of have some breaks. You're like, well, you still got to eat. For what that's worth, I don't know. Anyway,
there's another one. It was in a Marvel movie, which is funny to say that, but it's a good quote. It's another good quote where it says, "No amount of money ever bought a second of time."
this is true.
So most people spend their. Actually, there's another one by Steve Jobs. You don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard.
No, and you don't want to sacrifice your life making money only to sacrifice all your money to restore your life. Right. People do that with their health, right? They let me put that off. Let me put that off. I got to focus on this right now. This is important. There's always another meeting. There's always an important thing. If you don't take time out for yourself every day, and what I mean by that is you're a magnificent creation. If you're hearing my words right now, you're probably in a really good situation in life because you have the technology to hear and listen to or watch a podcast. So you're probably in the higher echelon of humans on the planet, number one. Be grateful for that. But you're a unique creation. If you don't take the time for your mind, for your spirit, for your body, you're going to eventually pay a bigger price later. My mentor used to say it's short-term pleasure equals long-term pain. Meaning I'm instant gratifying myself right now. I don't want to work out today. I'll work out tomorrow. It's a little bit of pain. I'll push that off and I'm going to eat the donut instead of, eating the egg, right? Short-term pleasure, but the repercussions of that will be painful for a lot longer. So if you learn to master the simple disciplines, right? Enduring the short-term pain, you'll end up with a life of pleasure. You'll end up with a lot more pleasure. And if you get smart, you'll realize that real fulfillment isn't in pleasure. That seeking pleasure is not only unfulfilling, but it's meaningless. And I don't mean that in the sense that you shouldn't have fun and there's a time for that for sure. And there's a reward for that when you work hard. And when you work really hard and you aim towards something, enjoying the fruit of that labor, I think is not only a good thing, but an important thing to do because it recharges you for the next run. But staying in that pleasure, staying in that, well, let me just continue to satisfy my flesh, with the different foods or the different people or whatever it is, you can get lost in that. And it can be a trap.
So what advice do you have for people who are in a bad place mentally, spiritually, and it feels like they just either don't have the they don't see the light and they're like, I don't see the point in continuing, whatever that may be, right? Whether it be, continuing making money, continuing to work out, they just don't see the point, after a little bit. Maybe things are a little bit unclear for them for whatever reason.
The good news in that is the same wind blows on us all. It's not the direction of the wind, but the set of the sail, right? The set of the mental sail. And you're going to have a storm. You're going to be lost at times. That's part of life's journey. And don't want what you don't want. Meaning that we don't want the problems, but you do really. How do you grow without them? It sucks to be in them. I get it, but that's the growth. So if you're in the fire right now, if you're in that place where you're like, it's all lost. I don't even know the meaning. And maybe sometimes that's self-induced. We've done some stupid shit, right? Or excuse my language. We've done something bad. And we're like, dang, I can't take that back. And we start recreating what I could have done or what I should have done. Or look, it happened. You can't remove it. It's okay to feel that for a moment, but forgive yourself. Okay. Know that God loves you. God's forgiven you, no matter what it is you did. But you can't stay in that, right? You got to course correct. Use that pain as fuel to redirect yourself and focus. And sometimes it's not self-induced. Sometimes it's outsized, external. Someone else caused it, or life circumstance happened, the market, whatever. Something happened, and you're like, man, I don't understand. I've been focused on this good stuff. I've been doing good. Why is this happening? Maybe it's not happening to you. Maybe it's happening for you. You ever think of that? And I know some people say, you don't understand, this thing, right? Couldn't be happening for me. This makes no sense, especially when it comes with the death of a loved one or something tragic. And I can understand that emotion. But look, this is your journey. You're here on this journey. You're a spiritual being in flesh, having an experience. Go through the experience and not just go through it, grow through it. You're meant for more, truly. You really are. So don't exit. Okay. That's the wrong move. Why exit? It's part of the joy. Through every breakdown comes a breakthrough. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's so true. The victory, right, isn't just waking up and everything being good every day. That would be hell if there was no challenge, no obstacle to overcome. Look at MMA, right? I'm sure a lot of you watch it. George, I don't know if you watch MMA, but or football or hockey or any sport where men compete. Why is it entertaining? Because there's people in conflict. They're in conflict. We're watching the overcoming of conflict. And in order for someone to get to that space, they had to overcome a immeasurable amount of obstacles and pain and suffering and endure all sorts of crazy stuff to even get to the point where they're in that ring or they're on that field. Without that, life in my mind would be meaningless. So when you're encountering an obstacle, George, and anyone listening, it takes some maturity over time, right? Going through a bunch of crap. And even still to this day, I know what I'm telling you. When I'm experiencing challenge, sometimes I fall victim to it too. Going, man, I don't get it. Good. Recognize that you're there and go, okay, I'm here again. What's the lesson? What do I need to learn? How do I need to course correct? How do I need to become better? Not who can solve my problem. Because that's one of the things I did when I was younger. I'd have a problem. I'd try to go find someone to solve my problem because I had the problem. Like, well, who can help me? Look, ask for help. That's not a bad thing to do. I'm not saying don't do that. But rather than being the first thing you do is ask for help, is why don't you ask yourself, hey, what can I do? How can I get better? Maybe it's in business. Okay. You had a failed partnership. Okay. How can I be a better partner? Rather than just blaming the other guy or the other girl or it's their fault. Maybe not. Okay. Maybe not. I'm not saying that they didn't do something that wasn't supposed to be done. Okay. but you can't control them. You can only control you. What did you do? What part did you play? How can I get better there? How can I negotiate better for myself? How can I, for a company, say you're a business owner and you have a partnership? Well, did you have an operating agreement? What's an operating agreement? Well, probably a good idea to understand what that is if you're in business. What kind of corporation did you set up? Well, can you learn that stuff? Yeah, there's dozens of YouTube videos. You go online, let your fingers do the moving, and start learning. And don't listen to the first Yahoo who you see. Go to a couple of them. Get it. Today, it's never been better or never easier. I should say it's never been easier and less expensive to get an education and to be a master at something. You got to learn it and then apply it, learn it and apply it. So if you're going through a challenge, ask yourself, how can I get better? How can I use this challenge or this problem that I'm facing to become better, to become the better version of you? Because ultimately, right, you've all heard this, right? It's an inside job. It's an inside job, man. You working on you. And the better you become, okay, which you have direct control of, because there's only two things in this entire universe that you personally have control over. Can you guess what they are? Just two.
Your thoughts and actions.
That's it. Well, thoughts, maybe not your thoughts. Thoughts kind of randomly just come the fuck in there sometimes, like, what the hell? Your thoughts create an attitude. So you can direct your thoughts. And when a thought comes in, I can either take it negative or take it positive. I have a filter. So you can set up guidance systems in your brain to receive those thoughts and then alter them to your discretion. Meaning that I can take an information and process it and go, I'm going to choose to have a good attitude about this. I'm going to look for the positive rather than seeking the negative. I'm going to seek the positive. So and that's called cultivating a strong attitude, right? Cultivating a positive attitude. Positive attitudes are attractive. Isn't it true, George? Like, wouldn't you rather be around a positive person than a negative person?
1,000,000%. That's one of the 48 laws of power. It's one of the 48 laws of power, which is stay away from the unlucky, the unfortunate.
Misfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they will drain your energy. They will suck your soul away. So, choose to have a good attitude and then your behavior. What you do. What do you do? Those are the only two things, and you're absolutely right, George, that you have control over on this planet. So I can't control this person. They may have done something wrong. They may have done something I didn't think they were going to do. Okay, how do I avoid that in the future? How do I change me? Because that's the only human I can change, so I can become better and reduce the chances of that happening again.
You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Well, hopefully not, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. It's not my thing.
No.
But
good for you.
Yeah, no. What you're saying, a lot of people tend to struggle to find friends, right? That's a new problem that I feel like people have found, right? People have found this new problem where it's hard to find, to really connect with people, right? Especially in a world full of technology where people feel like they're more distanced than ever. How do you find somebody that's or what's your advice rather on finding really good friends, right? And finding people that are going to strive to the top with you, that want the best for you, you want the best for them, like those kinds of people, like really top tier, high vibration, let's say, people.
That's a great question. First, figure out what kind of person you want to be. Be very crystal clear on what that is and who that man is. So kind of create an avatar for you of like, all right, this is who I want to be. I want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I want to be a pilot. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be whatever it is that you want. Like, picture that man or that woman, whoever you want to be, the perfect version of that. Aim towards that, and then get into circles of people who are also going in that direction. Well, how do you know? Well, okay, I can get into pilot groups. If I want to be a pilot, I can get into medical groups. If I want to be a medical student, I can be, and I can start researching holistic healing or health. I can get into those groups. like when you're trying to find a spouse, it's probably not the best place is the club. Okay. Or a strip club or any club, where if I'm looking for someone with a moral code, okay, I'm going to look in maybe, a church. Now, does that mean everyone in church has a moral code? No. Okay. Sadly, most do not. Okay. They're all lost like we are, trying to figure shit out, hopefully, or some of them are preying on people. Okay. Just know that that's what it is. But you have a better chance of finding someone that's in alignment with your philosophy and your direction in a positive place than you do in a negative place. I like to go to Tony Robbins events. Why? Because he typically attracts people that are trying to better themselves. I'll go to seminars. I'll go to events where there are other people that are going in a positive direction. They're trying to get themselves better. So if you're, like, say, or in real estate, or you want to be in real estate, go to some of the real estate seminars and the masterminds. And the challenge a lot of times people have is, well, I don't want to pay money for that. Why? It's education. Someone's taken time to teach you what they probably spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to learn. You can get for a couple $100 or $1,000 or a couple $1,000. Pocket lint in comparison. And you may walk, Josh, a couple $1,000 is a lot to me right now. Yeah, I get it. I mean, okay, save up, figure it out. Do things to do it, aim towards it and start working towards it. And why would you want to do it? Because you're going to get in an environment of other people who are moving in that direction, and you're likely to find like-minded people, equally yoked people, and that forms a friendship. A friendship's typically two people moving in a similar direction. And then over time, when you get enough interactions with that person, George, you can find out what they're made of, what their character is like. You learn more about someone in a tough time than you do in a positive time. So once you start to get people, once you're clear, so let's back up. Once you're clear on who you want to be, the ideal you, and then you get into environments where that type of person would be, okay, then you start to collect people, that you think are going that same direction, and then watch them over time. And you'll build friendships, quality friendships.
Speaking of friendships, on Instagram, this is partly also, like when I saw we had 8 mutual followers, I'm like, this guy is clearly of good quality if all these people want to follow him that I know. And one of them was Daniel Mack. I don't know him personally, but I saw that he followed you. What was the story behind that?
I met Daniel on a flight, on an Emirates flight. So I was in first class on Emirates, flying to Dubai. I think we're going to Dubai. In any event, I was just back in the bar area where everyone kind of congregates, because in the Abram 380, there's, in the first class and business class sections, they have the whole top of the plane, and coach is on the bottom of the plane. And in the top of the plane, in the business class section, at the rear, at the tail, is a bar, and they have, basically like a little dining table on one side, and on the other side there's like a little couch, and then there's a little half moon bar where people can meet. I just happened to be there talking with someone, and Daniel Mack was doing his classic, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" kind of thing. And so we met there, and we just, I didn't really know who he was at the time, but then later I'm like, "Oh, darn, you're that guy. Okay, cool." So, we just, had a couple conversations. So I wouldn't say we're friends. I like him. He's a young guy that obviously has a good head on his shoulders and caught something, caught some attention, but he seemed like a decent human to me, and we had some good conversations. That was about it.
With that being said, this is another follow-up question. When you're talking about connections and friends and meeting people, how do you make high value connections, right? Like people that are already at a very high level, right? People that have succeeded in some area. We could use the most extreme example, let's say an Elon Musk, a Donald Trump, Mark Zuckerberg, whatever person you want to attach to this. It could be Tony Robbins. It could be Mark Cuban. How do you make those kinds of connections, right, successfully and effectively?
That's another great question. And there's a pretty simple answer to it. One is show up where those people show up. So, for example, if Mark Cuban's showing up at a particular event, and he does from time to time, go to that event. Be the first to arrive and last to leave. You want to meet a Donald Trump? Well, you're going to probably go to some rallies. You're going to get around. You're going to be in the place of proximity. Proximity is power. Remember that. Proximity is power. You want to be in proximity of people who are close to the people who are close to the people that you want to meet. It's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And it's called networking, right? You're going to network. How do you do that? You add value to other people. If there's one thing I can say to any young person right now, cultivate this philosophy in your life. The philosophy that you're going to add more value than you subtract, period. That you're going to give before you ask. These two things, I think, have been lacking in American society for quite some time. And I'm hoping that the alpha generation, I think you're the end of Z, right? The end of Z. I think the top end of the Zs and the bottom end of the millennials, there's a lot of weirdness there because the previous generations were just mad. They've let this thing go to hell. Okay, so it needs some course correcting. So I think your generation, or at least your age group, and the alphas below you are going to help radically change society, and you can do it in a positive way. And you get in proximity to people who have your answers or have the solutions, not the problems. Again, Tony Robbins events. I would show up at there. I'll give you my story. I got involved in the industry of network marketing when I was younger. Network marketing was kind of cool. It's different today than it was then, but back then there wasn't a lot of opportunities. And so you would show up at events where successful people were. And I obviously wanted to be mentored by these people, but you don't walk up to a successful person and say, hey, mentor me. Like, you get lost because he's being that, and not necessarily because he's a dick, or it's like, if you're being asked 100 times a day by someone to mentor you, you can't, even if you wanted to, you can't possibly do it. How do you do it? There's only so much time, and you have a life and you have stuff to do. So you can't do it. And the reality is most people aren't going to do what they say anyway. Meaning that I can't tell you how many people have asked me, man, can you help me? And I'll go help them, and they just won't do the thing. There's an old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So you first have to get ready and then start showing up where those people are and then add value. So I showed up at these events that were happening where, there'd be the most successful person in the room. He'd do a presentation in front of an audience of people, selling them his vision or his idea or his whatever they were selling. And I would show up and I would volunteer to set up the chairs. I'd volunteer to help with I'd show up to help. I didn't have any money, so that helped me too. Because I'm like, look, I can't pay for the event, but I'll sign people in. What can I do to be of help? And maybe at first they'll say, nothing, we're good. Okay, keep asking, keep showing up, find ways to add value. And what'll happen eventually is someone who's smart will see you and bring you in and start assigning things to you. And then do everything you can to the best of possible ability. I don't care if it's cleaning the toilet, cleaning a trash can, everything you do the very best you can do. And it doesn't seem like that matters on the surface, but it's everything. It is noticed, and maybe not noticed every moment, but that habit is noticed because you consistently do it. It's noticed. For example, on your job, if you have a job right now, be the best employee you can be. Be the best. I mean, I'm talking show up early, stay late, and while you're working, work your butt off. I mean, be present. Don't be on your phone. Don't be like everyone else. It is so easy, George, right now to get ahead. It's so easy in my mind because all you got to do is not be like everybody else. Be the person that doesn't have their hand out. If you pay me more money, then I'll work harder. You got it backwards. Work harder and you'll command more money. Be someone who's essential. See, if you become indispensable to an entrepreneur, to someone who, someone's business or someone's life, they will pay whatever it takes to keep you. And you may not think so, but they will. And look, you don't have to, you don't have to demand it. Just go, look, you just remove yourself. look, I gotta, I need to elevator. I need to go somewhere else. And I appreciate the time and service. And sometimes that's it. And learn everything you can. Remember, value a lot of times isn't just currency or monetary value. It's education. So if you can get around someone who's successful and add value to life and even be a free assistant, you know the access you'll get if you could be a free assistant to, an Elon Musk or someone who will be like an Elon Musk at some point. And that's probably a bad example because very few humans that'll ever be like that. But you know what I'm saying? Somebody that you probably know in your circle is doing well. Find out how you can add value to their life and be indispensable to them, and they're going to keep you close and give you access to their network, which is valuable.
What do you think the most meaningful experience of your life was?
The most meaningful experience of my life? The thing that's dominating my mind right now is I had a spiritual encounter with, it's a long story, but I had a spiritual encounter, right? I've realized that there is for sure God and there is for sure evil. And that contrast was the most meaningful thing in my life because I realized for sure there's two directions here. And I definitely did not want to go in the bad direction. And now that doesn't mean I've not messed up since that, but I'm 100% focused on not going that way. So that, without question, is the most meaningful experience of my life. Second to that would be my children being born. My children, when you have children, your life radically changes. If you're a man, so I don't know how it is to be a woman, so I can't talk to that. But as a man, if you are a man and you're not a beta thing, it's going to create a resolve inside of you that you will not be denied, that you're going to do whatever it takes to keep that child safe. And a lot of that's growing up and you're just owning your shit and, providing and working and valuing your time and being diligent with your work ethic. Right. So it was meaningful on a lot of levels. One is, man, you have a new life you got to care for, right? And wow, what a cool experience that is to be a father. Man, I don't know if there's a better job in the universe. Being a father is pretty cool, man. And it helps you elevate your game in every other area of your life. So those two, right? Knowing that there's God, and look, I'm not going to push religion or spirituality on anyone. I do think, though, that any logical person should seek and really, truly go down that road rather than borrowing someone else's opinion or just going, oh, well, it's not real because of this. But without just scratching the surface, really go on a journey. Seek. You seek. Don't just, and if you're like, oh, I'll just show up at church. Okay, that's a start. But God's not the church, okay? And there's a personal relationship that you can cultivate with your Creator. And I would advise anybody listening to just go down that road. Just be open to learning. You don't have to believe anything I'm saying. In fact, I hope you don't. I hope you take it upon yourself to really go seek and learn and discover for yourself. Because I believe whoever seeks finds. I don't know if that answers your question, but
it did. It did. I was going to say, what do you consider to be your greatest success?
My greatest success, forgiving myself. My greatest success. Hardest thing to do. In life, and George, you're 18, you're young. Hopefully, you're not going to make lots of mistakes that radically alter things in your life. Chances are excellent you were going to make a few. And the challenge is when you do that, we play this tape in our head of, man, I should have done this. I could have done that. I'm so stupid. There's no one ever going to be harder on you than you, ever. And that can manifest itself in lots of very negative ways. Right? You can be mean to other people. You can be most likely be mean to yourself. And that can, again, show up like in drug use or alcoholism or just numbing yourself to playing video games or food or pick your vice. But at some point, you got to forgive yourself. At some point, I'd say the recipe to success for me was, one, surrendering to God. Full surrender, going, all right, I'm done. I'm done trying to figure this shit out. Like, I'm done. You got it. That was number one. Number two was, and the harder thing of the two was forgiving myself, going, all right, Josh, you know what? You've suffered enough. I'm not going to hurt you anymore. I forgive you. If God forgives you, I'm going to forgive you. And not holding that in my heart. So I know that may sound strange to somebody like, well, there's other successes. I don't know of a better success than that. Like, at the end of the day, if you have work ethic and you're willing to learn and you're coachable, meaning that you're open to listening to other people who've been down the road a little further than you have, and believe it or not, that's a lot rarer of a quality in somebody. Most people are egotistical, especially young men. They think they know everything. I know I did when I was younger. I thought I was I got it. Look, man. If someone else's stack is bigger than my stack, I'm going to listen to them. Now, maybe not about everything in life, because maybe they have some other shit wrong. But whatever they're successful in, I'm going to follow that. And typically they'll tell you what it is. I used to think, especially in these seminars, why would they give you all the secrets? And I'll tell you why. One, that's what you paid them for, most likely. So it's not always the case, but most of the time it is. And I can't tell you how many people I've given the actual formula to success. I mean, verbatim, exactly what to do. I've done multiple times to make millions. You know how many people actually do it? 1%, maybe. 1 out of 100, maybe. Like, now there'll be 10 to 20 that will try. But one usually does it, and that's about it. So you can give it out to everyone for free, and they're not competing with you, man. It's not really competitive out there as much as you think it is. Anyway.
So what is the formula for success?
Okay, I think any industry, no matter what it is, the formula for success is work harder on yourself than you do on whatever it is. That's number one. Everywhere you go, there you are. So be the best at what you can be at and work on you the whole time. What does that look like? How do I do that? 4 things will change your life. 4. Okay. Change 4 things, and these 4 things will change your entire life. All right. Change what you see, change what you hear or listen to, change what you read, and change who you hang out with. Those 4 things are the most powerful influences in your world. Okay. Most people are stuck in their scroll, right? TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, pick your poison. They're sitting there being programmed by their thumb movement. Okay, you probably know what I'm talking about. Just like sitting there, just don't do that. You have the ability to control that. Go to places that have your solutions, have your answers, not your problems. So again, figure out who you want to be. And I'm going to change what I see. So I'm not going to allow some random algorithm to be programming my mind through my eyeballs, nor am I going to do that through my ears. So rather than listening to music, and look, I like music, don't get me wrong, all genres, right? I mean, I like all sorts of different types of music, but when I'm focused and I want to change my life, I'm not going to allow just any music in my head. The lyrics are important, okay? What's being programmed into my subconscious is important. That's why I listen to worship music more than anything, because at least it's positive if I'm listening to some music. But most of the time, I'm going to listen to a book on an audio, audible.com, go to the Audible app, listen books on, you can just program your brain with good stuff. You want to learn about being the best realtor? There's tons of people who wrote really good books who are very successful on real estate. And they have it like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Good stuff. Put that into your head. not just once, listen to it a few times. All right, listen to it a few times a year. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Amazing. Listen, you had audio, read the books. There's books on almost any possible. You mentioned something earlier, George, about 48 Laws of Power. Okay, Robert Greene. He's a great author. And that's a great book. Read, man, every successful leader I know is an avid reader. And get around people who have your best interest. Associations are powerful. In the beginning of my journey, George, most of the people I knew, they're good people. I liked them. They just weren't going in the same direction I was going. So if you can't change the people around you, meaning you can't change them to do what you're doing, change the people around you, meaning get new people. And that is what it is, man. Like the first person that has to get the oxygen mask on is you. If the plane loses cabin pressure, right? That's pretty much the formula. So work on you. You can do that by changing what you see, changing what you're listening to, changing what you're reading, and changing your associations. Then show up every day. Show up. Okay. You have a job you're working on. You want to be successful. Be not on time, be early. Stay later. Do it consistently. And then when you're off of your job, your career, your work or whatever, focus on your business. You have 8 hours you can work and make your living. You have 8 hours that you can build your fortune. Study. If you want to, if it's real estate, study real estate. If it's network marketing, study network marketing. If it's trading, Forex or trading, whatever, if it's finance, study, practice, and then, share what you learned. Look, content creation's never been better right now. If you're brand new, just starting on a journey, cool. Maybe that's your content creation. Really study it. Document that. You should document it anyway, just so you have it for you. You can document it as a content creation or as content for whatever your channel is. And you're like, well, no one's watching me. Who cares? Do it for you as a diary. And maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't. But study it, practice it, and then share it. Share what you learned. And and even if no one ever knows, no one ever hears it, you're recording it, you're regurgitating what you've read, and you're processing that. And that very act itself is going to help you get better. It's going to sharpen your axe, so to speak, right? It's going to sharpen your, I'll tell you where that expression came from, so it makes more sense. I think it was Ben Franklin, but I'm not certain. There's some people say George Washington, some people say Ben Franklin. I'm pretty sure it was Franklin. Said, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 of those hours sharpening my axe. Meaning 3/4 of the time I'm working on me, only 1/4 of the time I'm working on it. So if you're doing that, then you're going to be more successful because you're going to cut down your time frame. Okay. So in that next 8 hours, right? 8 hours on my career, because most of you probably have to, unless your parents are doing it, you got to pay for your food, clothing, and shelter, and you probably have a job to do that. And then the next 8 hours, you're going to study it, you're going to practice it, and then you're going to teach it. And you can teach that by just recording yourself. And even if you're just teaching yourself, right? That's sharpening your axe. You're getting better. And you remember, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Tipping Point. And he wrote another book called The Outliers. And I always mix these two up. But in one of those books, he said 10,000 hours. He studied all these masters of their craft, whether it was martial arts or tennis or you name it. It's the masters of the people who got to the top, the Olympians, right? The best of the best. And he realized that it was just 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours of practice in any one particular thing will make you one of the best in the world. 10,000 hours, about 5 years at about 8 hours a day. So if in 5 years, you could be a master. In 3 years, you radically change your life. So the formula to success in my mind is very simple. Work on you. And then focus on whatever it is that you're trying to do and just practice it. And eventually you'll be successful. It's pretty simple.
I think that's a pretty good place to end off. I appreciate having you on. Any final words to the audience before I stop the recording? We'll talk a little bit after the show.
George, I'll just say thanks for doing this. You know, I know you're just getting started out and you're young, but you have a bright future ahead of you with a good head on your shoulders. So stay in that path. And if you're following George, invite some people. Okay. So you get some more people thinking like you're thinking. And I think he'll continue to have good people on. So thanks, George, for having me. God bless y'all. Wish y'all an incredible and successful journey ahead.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording in 3, 2,